reminds me. Okay, so welcome everybody, and to those of you who are here live, and also those of you who are listening to the recording. So this is the Awakening Process Masterclass. So what this is about is just a way that I can offer to you some insight, some ideas on what I have experienced are the most important aspects of the process on the process of spiritual awakening. And so I kind of put them together in pillars so that you can see it's not just one way. Like spiritual awakening doesn't occur through one way. Spiritual awakening is very integral, and it's an integral process, which means it takes a lot of different states and stages and levels of spiritual maturity. And these are just my ways that I'm sharing with you. And there's possibly other ways that you guys, have specialized in yourself. So for those of you who are watching this, this is just, as I said, just an opportunity for me to share how my pathway's been and how I've also put together a package, I guess you could say, a package, so that if anyone's going, right, now where do I start, especially in this day and age, there's so much, especially now with social media, there's so much to do. So I've just put together an idea, just a view for you to have a look at things that it can be very important for you for your pathway of awakening. Now, my journey started 30 years ago as what I call an existential crisis, or a spiritual emergency, they're called, or existential crisis. And this occurred through, those of you who don't know, a lot of you who are here do know, occurred through the loss of my daughter when I was 30. And so that was what an existential crisis is, when something happens to you that makes no sense and you've got no way of getting answers to understanding why do these things happen, or why do bad things happen to good people, so to speak. So I was in that place myself, where I was 29, 30. My life was going along as normal. I had two daughters, or 3 and 7. And I had my third daughter, and just without any warning whatsoever, she got pneumonia and her lungs collapsed, and so we lost her. And although the doctors tried to resuscitate her, unfortunately her lungs collapsed and she died. And so that, of course, is what the existential crisis, which was, what the fuck just happened to me, and what was all that about? What is any of this about? Trying to make sense of the senseless. There was a point of it, of course, biologically, which we could understand. She had pneumonia, and she died from from that as a medical problem. And all the doctors were there. They did the very best that they could do, and there was no one to blame. It was just one of those things. And that's actually what set me off to the asking those questions, like, this is the context of the spiritual emergency, is like, but why? Okay, I get that she died. I get that she got pneumonia. I get the doctors tried to save her, but why? Like, why? Why did these things happen when you're just plodding along and everything's going really, really, really honky-dory? Anyway, so that was the existential crisis. And then when I started looking at, then, why did this happen? Who are we? What are we? So 2 years of that time was spent with me in deep bereavement and despair and anger towards everything. Luckily, I had my family, my beautiful family there at the time, my extended family, and so I was supported really well by my former husband and the father of my children and the kids, and then my parents and all the family. So it was really, and the community. It was absolutely beautiful. Community came forth to help, and it was 2 years in, and I was out putting the clothes on the line, and I looked up at the sky, and I've just looked up, and I've gone like, if there's a God, you'd better show up, because this is really, really painful. If I didn't have the family, I was at that point of such despair that the pain of that loss was so bad, so painful, that I didn't want to be alive. I didn't want to be carrying the emotional pain. You may as well chop my leg off. It would have been easier. With that, it was only about 2 or 3 days after, I remember it so clearly, looking up to the sky, and then I was going, I'm even talking to the sky, and I'm talking to a God that I don't even believe in. I'm going like, you're a fucking idiot, Robin. You don't believe in God. You don't want to have anything to do with the churches. You don't want to have to do anything to do with the clergy, and yet you're speaking to a God that you don't even believe in. And so, about 3 days after that, I was watching Oprah. And Oprah had a lady on, her name was Betty Eadie, and her book is called Embraced by the Light. And Betty Eadie was talking about her near-death experience. And, I was watching this lady talking about her being in an accident, dying on the operating table, seeing herself elevate out of her body, looking down from the ceiling, looking down at her body, and the doctors trying to resuscitate her and save her. And then she went from looking down at her body, and then off she went through a tunnel of light. And then when she was in the tunnel of light, she then saw, people that had passed before her, and they told her it's not her time. You've got to come back. You've got more things to do. And I'm listening to this story going, wow, that sounded pretty cool. There was no dogma in it. There was no religious anything in it at all. I mean, she did talk a little bit about her, being Christian in the Western culture, but nothing at a point that, was, interfered with her outer body experience. And so when I heard this lady's story, of course, I went out straight away and bought the book. This was in about 1992, 93. And back then in the 90s, there was nothing like there is today. No social media, of course. I had to get on the phone, and that was the phone that was on the wall where you had to kind of put it and dial it. There's no mobile phones. And the only bookshop that sort of stuff was available in Australia, like, there's bookshops everywhere with spiritual stuff, but at that time it was at the Adia bookshop, the Theosophical Society in Sydney. So I got this lady's book and I read it, and then at the end of it I thought, oh wow, that sounds pretty cool. And it gave me a bit of hope. And then I went to the back of the book, and the last questions were, how do we get in touch ourselves with this spiritual understanding? And it said, oh, there's many ways. You can do yoga, meditation, Reiki. You can do psychic development. And I thought, oh, okay. Then yoga to me back then was that what's the name, Saraswati, that was on TV, the little Indian lady. So it was like, yeah, no, you didn't understand any of this. Anyway, so I read this lady's book. It was pretty cool. I just felt a lightness of being. There was something even in reading this book that shifted that heavy despair. It gave me hope. And so, the next week I've gone to the news agency, and I've seen a magazine that I never would have looked at in the past, and it was a psychic readings and tarot witchcraft sort of magazine at the newsagents. And I've gone, oh, you know, once upon a time I would have just gone, oh, that's witchcraft bullshit. So I picked up this book, flipping through it, and it had on it, are you seeking for spiritual awakening? And I'm looking at it going, well, hell yeah, that's it. That's what it is that I'm going through. And then it continued on to say, we're here to help you. We're having a workshop. It's called Reiki. And I thought, okay, well, that looks pretty good. And the address was actually back here on the Central Coast. At the time, I was at Cootamundra. And I thought, all right, okay. So I came back, I bought this magazine, of course, wasn't interested in anything. I called the phone number and this gentleman answered the phone and yes, he lives here on the Central Coast and which is back in my hometown. And then I went to do Reiki. Now just the moment in this, this is like 2-3 weeks, just happening instantly. It's all a bit like the minute I said, if there's a God, you better show up. It's like that final desperate plea. And then everything from then on just started happening. And so I've gone and done Reiki. And then I also realized that prior to going to do Reiki, I'd also started having visions in my dream state. And I remember having a dream. It was the Reiki that reminded me about this dream that I was walking down the street and like a dirt road, like an Indian walking down an old dirt road in India. And someone walked towards me and they handed me a picture, a black and white picture of this Asian looking man. And I got this picture, put it under my arm and kept on going. And then then I woke up the next day, didn't think much of it. And then the next minute I've come up to do Reiki. And as I've looked into this room where we were sitting, then there's this picture of this beautiful Asian fellow sitting there in front of me. And I went, hey, that's the guy that was in my dream the other night. And it was actually the photo of Dr. Mackay Usui, who was the founder of the Usui Reiki. And that was sort of like, wow, that was the beginning of, from then on, everything that occurred from that moment was just to where I am today. So, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have your own experiences, your own stories. Or some people that I know today just actually happen to be lucky enough that they just wake up. Excuse me a second. I'm just checking in on some. Okay, just checking on some messages. Anyway, so I did Reiki, and that was the beginning again of some more incredible things that started occurring in my life. So Reiki introduced me to was the Tibetan lineage, and so that introduced me to Tibetan Buddhism. And then from doing Reiki and being really interested in the energy field, because Reiki is universal life force energy, the hands-on healing, understanding from the Tibetan lineages back then, understanding the aura, the field, the chakras, and the energy of healing, and connecting with your spirit guides, meditation, the whole lot. And before I knew it, I was on this incredible new journey of curiosity. And so that just then led from Reiki to a lot of other healing modalities. So I did reconnective healing and theta healing and psychic surgery. I continued on then to do Kriya Yoga. And the other thing that was occurring for me too was every time I went to do these modalities, there was often, especially in the Reiki tradition, that Jesus was there, or Jeshua they called him, or Yeshua. And of course, I was an atheist, and also like non-Christian, didn't want to have anything to do with Christianity because of the dogma of the churches. He showed up through the Tibetan lineage teachings, and he showed up at Kriya Yoga. And here I am trying to avoid this relationship with Yeshua, based on the churches and all of the controversy and the dogma around Christianity. And yet he kept on showing up in such a beautiful, gentle way through these other modalities. And so I thought, well, this is, I was curious, like, why is it that that the Buddhists say, and the yogis were saying that Yeshua or Jesus is a bodhisattva or a yoga, he's an awakened being, and that he actually, which is the truth of with the Reiki, was Reiki came out of Yeshua when he left home at 12 and then traveled into India and started studying with the yogis and with the Buddhists. And so when he came back and he was healing people, it's because he'd actually been over into the East and started learning all of these other true practices and understanding of consciousness that was much more broader than what he was just in being Jewish and living in Israel. Anyway, so he kept on coming back, and I kept on avoiding him. Get away! Don't want to have anything to do with you. And then one day I was practicing Kriya Yoga, and he actually showed up in front of me in my lounge room, and that was a moment that was literally ridiculously profound. And as I said, to this day, I never call myself a Christian. I never go to church, but I do totally now have since then have a much more intimate relationship with Yeshua and his teachings from the heart and the embodiment, this real deep embodiment of love and living from the space of the heart. So after Yeshua visited me in 1999, then I continued on. He told me he was going to come back and see me again. And I said to him, well, I don't know how you're going to do that, mate, because I'm not going to church and I'm not going to read the Bible. And he laughed and he said to me, it's not my book and it's not my building. You won't be. I am here now. You don't have to go there to the man-made altars that they created, that the whole Christian thing anyway. And I said, okay, well, good luck. I didn't know how he was going to come back. And so I left it at that. And then exactly a year from that time, Yeshua came back to me with his incredible, teachings of Christ consciousness. And once I'd actually started going deeper into the healing pathway of Christ consciousness, into the Christ field or the Buddha field, Krishna consciousness, source consciousness, whatever it is, evolutionary consciousness, it doesn't matter what we want to call it, then everything started stepping up. So what that has led me to do is then continued then on, of course, also to go to university and to study my bachelor's degree in social sciences and counseling psychology. I was really intrigued then about psychotherapy and trauma healing, trauma and crisis, and grief and bereavement. So I kind of had this big package of life experiences from the moment, from this beautiful little soul who left the planet, and with this gave me an understanding of, also gave me an understanding too. I studied also in the late 90s / early 2000s with Neil Donald Walsh when he was out in Australia, Conversations with God. So at the time, like, all of these things were just really, really amazing. And I was like a kid in a lolly shop by this stage and just loving everything. And then I was realizing that the soul contract between my daughter coming onto this earth and me was my awakening. And it's because of her coming to this earth that I am here today, being able to share not only with you, but the thousands of people that I've actually been able to help on their own pathway of awakening, and a lot of them who actually have bring and present really, really, really traumatic experiences working with people that have had their children that have been murdered, family members that have died, you know, a lot of abuse, men and women, culturally, everything. And I look back and I go, you know what, it's priceless. There's the actual blessing that came from this moment of horrific grief and bereavement, and this experience of my own, to what it is today is sort of like, you know, I would never take it back. I could never take it back. I don't wish it upon anyone, but I would never take it back. So I'm so grateful for everything that has occurred. Okay, so let's continue to go here. So what I found, besides Reiki, besides all the healing modalities, is what was starting to work the most for me personally was meditation. It wasn't so much, I mean, the Reiki was great, all of the modalities were all fantastic, but what was really, really the real key foundation to awakening was, you know, was meditation. So that's why I've got here the pathway. The pathway of spiritual awakening is meditation, and the goal is freedom. So, you know, it's like, what was the goal ultimately for all of this, is that we are free from suffering. And how do we become free from our suffering? Well, the pathway from freedom of suffering is meditation. So our suffering occurs through our believing the narrative. So I'm believing I'm a mother who had a daughter, and that was, you know, a victim of whatever decisions were made or not made, or could or couldn't have happened. So the suffering occurred by believing the narrative at that time, and it was linked to my ability to let go of the victim of loss and bereavement, and to transcend the experience into being a survivor of life and mastery of my own destiny. So I had to let go and transcend the narrative, the dream, the story, the illusion that I am a victim of loss and bereavement in this third dimensional reality, in this relative reality. And so I didn't need a counselor or a psychologist to buy into keeping me on that story. I needed tools to help transcend the suffering and the pain and suffering. And that's where I get a lot today. I get so many people that have been seeing psychologists for years and years, and they're still stuck. So my work as a transpersonal psychotherapist is exactly this: to help people transcend and move beyond the realm and the dimension of the human pain and suffering that is in relationship to the narrative and the belief system about I'm a victim of this world. This world is, you know, based on a psychology, the history, community, society, and all that narrative. Today, we're experiencing so much stress and drama, so much more than ever. And as Westerners, we've been given so much attention into the intellect, into the mind, rather than the aspect of our true self, the aspect of ourself, our soul that is light, that is this radiant, infinite being, this soul that actually is embodied and comes onto this earth plane through the breath, breathing into this body, the body being the vehicle. The soul gets anchored into this body through the carriage, which is the breath. And so all of this pain and suffering that we are still experiencing is from our mind, and how we relate to ourselves and define ourselves from our mind and our belief systems, rather than knowing and remembering the true nature of our being, which is soul. And the soul is that one that is in union as one with and as the primordial being itself, which is the divine source consciousness. So it's that moment the moment that the light, it's light actually, the moment of the Big Bang, the moment that the light exploded and from the Divine Primordial Being, and that exploded, that evolutionary trajectory into itself, the Big Bang, was the moment that every tiny particle of light saw itself or had the experience of separation. I'm a separate point of light. There's a separate point of light. There's a separate point of light. I'm a separate point of light from what? So in that moment, it's sort of like where we already start forgetting ourselves. We forget our true selves, which is we are this point of light, and we were all there. We were all in that one same spot, that tiny pinprick of light, 14 billion years ago. We were all there, and there's been this separation, this belief system that we're separate from this infinite void, this timeless, formless, eternal dimension of peace. And because we think that, or because we've had that experience, we've continued to live that out and get further and further and further away from it as we're evolving. As consciousness is evolving, we are also seeming to get further and further away from ourselves. But what's happening is now it's like all of those fragmented parts of ourselves, those tiny points of light, all those fragmented parts of ourselves, it's like they're all being called back again. And this is what awakening is. It's like calling back all of the fragmented parts of yourself back into wholeness. So trauma is about not being able to make sense. Trauma is about not being able to make sense of an experience, right? My trauma is I couldn't make sense of the experience. So the initial feelings are repressed and suppressed and left unintegrated. Again, that is exactly what happened for me. So my trauma, my trauma was actually before my daughter died. It was, I'm not making sense of when my dog died. And my initial feelings of when my dog died were repressed and suppressed and left unintegrated. And then my boyfriends broke up with me, and then love left again. So then I was left in that same suppressed feeling again, where my initial feelings of shut down and hurt, they were not integrated. And then my daughter died. So again, so this is what our trauma is about. All of us, our trauma is about not being able to make sense of the experience. So practicing meditation keeps the link alive. So it keeps us connected to remembering that we are this, the foundation of our being is this point of light that is the infinite and timeless dimension of consciousness itself. So the foundation of returning to the self or source. Okay. So our true nature is our essential beingness, this formlessness, is love. Love wants to love. So when we're connected to this part of ourself, then we're more capable of forgiveness, we're more capable of love and of compassion. So when we remember ourselves as this formless, formless, eternal being, source consciousness, primordial being, there's no aspect of that self, that higher self, that has been interfered with the human experience of, being identified as a woman and a mother and a child. Consciousness itself, or soul itself, is vast. It's like where were you before you were born? Where were we where do we go when we die? It's sort of like it's that vastness. There's no limitations to it. There's no sadness. There's no contraction. It's just this infinite freedom, this expansiveness of love, unconditional love. But our humanness, so we have our true nature, the essence of our being, formless love. But our humanness is the part of us that is the evolutionary process of becoming. We are here in this form as an object. We have a body and a mind, and the body and the mind wants to condemn and judge in order to stay in control and stay safe, because we see ourselves as separate from our beingness. We worry about everything from our past and we project our problems into the future. So the only time we can be at peace is in the present moment now. And the only way we can be in the present moment now is when we turn our attention inward and actually, through meditation, stop and breathe and bring ourselves into full alignment with the truth of our being. So going inwards, meditating, is allowing the inner wisdom to raise as clarity. So meditation is listening to God, and prayer and chanting is coming into alignment with God. So speaking the voice of God that speaks through us. Now, again, please don't be repelled by the word God. I was. When I heard the word God, I go, all that bullshit, I don't want to hear that stupid word. There's no God, blah, blah, blah. I get that. And I know that that's uncomfortable because of our conditioning and because of, as I said, what is occurring in the world and what's occurred through religions and the how they personify God. It was not until I actually did work with Neil Donald Walsh and conversations with God did I go, okay, okay, I get it now. It's just a word. It's just a word that represents, the evolutionary process and primordial being. So we can just change that. If I say the word God, please, as I said, don't think that I'm religious and all that stuff, because I'm definitely not. It's easy. That's why it does become easier just to use it. Okay, so the awakening process consists of 6 pillars that supports participants on the spiritual journey and achieve deep, abiding peace and transformation. That's what we all want, right? So here's 6 pillars to help you achieve that peace of transformation. These 6 pillars have been designed to powerfully shift your worldview and uplift your approach to life by utilizing the principles and practices of integral and evolutionary psychology, scientific theory, meditation, and other spiritual practices. The 6 pillars are grounded in heart-based, soul-centered approaches that are pathways to access self-realization. I was recently on a platform with world-renowned the organization called HeartMath. And it was really lovely that I was invited onto this international platform to speak about how my own self, my own experience, got attuned to and aligned with the power of heart consciousness. And HeartMath do a lot of the measurements, the scientific measurements about the field of the mind. The mind intelligence, goes this far, but the heart intelligence actually expands even further. So, so this is a heart-based approach, and also too because of the pathway of Christ consciousness is the pathway of the heart. So we've also got there is a different lineage. There is definitely a difference between Hinduism, yoga, Buddhism, mindfulness, and then Christ consciousness and heart theory. So I can see where first and foremost I stepped into Buddhism because it was the least threatening. It was the least threatening at the time, back when I didn't want to have anything to do with any religions, right? So mindfulness and Reiki was a nice, gentle way in. And then From then, that led into yoga and Hinduism. And so then I spent many years in studying the philosophies of yoga. And then when I said that, then I had this experience when Jeshua actually came to me, then I was initiated into the path of Christ consciousness. Then it was like there was this perfect integration. There was this, the Tibetan, the Buddhism, the yoga traditions and Hinduism, and then Christ consciousness. It was like this was the integration. And because Jeshua was like, he came after Buddha, and Buddha came after Hinduism. And so, like, as spirituality, and then we have shamanism and the original earth-based philosophies. So we've sort of like evolved, and Jeshua came at the time as this point of evolution for spiritual awakening and spiritual understanding. So heart-based, the 6 pillars of spiritual transformation. Let's go. The first pillar. So this is what I have, after 30 years, put together, so I can also be there to assist anyone else who wants to come and join me, just to hang out. Just if you're willing to actually look at what does that freedom feel like, how can I experience that? And so having this package for you, this understanding, is just my gift of service, really. This is a gift of service to love, making love visible, having an open space and a community where people can come in and everyone can safely have a spiritual awakening with a great lot of community and friends. So pillar 1 is timeless wisdom. My presentation is the pathway of mastery. So pillar 1, timeless wisdom. The pathway of mastery is a spiritual teaching and a practice that guides individuals towards personal transformation and spiritual awakening. It emphasizes the teachings of love, forgiveness, and self-awareness as tools for overcoming fear and experiencing inner peace. The pathway of mastery teaches that we're all connected to a higher consciousness, which is referred to as God or the divine. By connecting with this consciousness through mindfulness and meditation, we can tap into its limitless power and wisdom and transform our lives. The practice involves studying and contemplating the teachings, as well as applying them in our daily lives through prayer. Prayer is not, dear God, come and help me. Prayer, it means alignment, right? So all prayer is just bringing you back into alignment through meditation, breath work, and bringing you back. So that's the prayer. Prayer is just alignment, calling you back inward, and mindful living. Through this process, we can release old patterns, fears, and limitations, and align with our true purpose and potential. The ultimate goal of the pathway of mastery is to guide individuals towards a state of inner peace, joy, and love. It is a path towards awakening to our true selves and living a life of purpose, service, and fulfillment. It is an inclusive pathway of depth, clarity, and wisdom, and it's designed to unfold any soul that's truly desiring to awaken into a lived reality, as I said, of peace and joy. We've all known suffering. We've all longed to heal. We've all sought that healing, or at least a temporary respite from the pain, in so many different ways, in a myriad of ways. Consumerism, drugs, alcohol, seeking for love and security in another being or another job or a ritualistic religion or spiritualities. So all these things are temporary fixes of the world that have failed to truly transform us and heal our shared core fear. And that share called fear is that we are separate from God, from the mystery of creation, and therefore we're alone. None of that is true. So it provides a grounded, practical, and alchemical methodologies that bring about what it's referred to as a genuine spirituality, a process of personal, relational, and planetary evolution of consciousness itself. The pathway helps turn the mind back into itself and returns us into wholeness back through living practices that allow us to disidentify with the mind and its whirling for fan blades, thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, narratives, stories, and ideas, seeing it as merely effect and not reality. Purifying our relationship with all of our feelings and energies, desires, rage, by turning toward rather than away from them or pushing them away or avoiding them. So this is the pathway. Again, it's like this is the pathway of the heart. The pathway of mastery is turning us inward, not outward, to try to get things and fix things from something outside of ourselves. All the healing is moving inward into self-inquiry and to healing ourselves, doing it ourselves and hearing, and also not relying on something outside of ourselves to be that source of healing. It dissolves barriers that we've created between our mind, body, soul, and nature and others and the divine, and reconnects to our oneness with all. It transforms from fearful beings, transforms us from fearful beings to loving beings, from doubters to those of perfect faith, where you no longer doubt what God is. So there's this gap between one of the things that's missing between being able to waken up, to truly wake up and to be free, is doubt. It's like, I kind of want to believe that this works, but I'm not sure if it works. So doubt is what holds us back from moving forward and from waking up. So this is about trust as well, like trusting in the forces and the mystery that is unseen yet all-powerful. In short, it's restoring us, our trust in the source of our own existence, and revealing our true selves as already complete and perfect awakened beings. It's about true transformation, which requires curiosity, willingness, a scientific mindset to discover what we may not yet know, apply what we're learning to our daily lived experiences, and to allow ourselves to experiment with new sensations and contexts, and to discard forever all that used to seem true and right in exchange for what genuinely expands truth and allows genuine healing and growth and effects of real change. I've got so many testimonials from students that are on the pathway of enlightenment, and they can be seen on my website. Just absolutely miracles occurring for so many of the beautiful souls that are on the pathway. And the pathway of enlightenment is probably like about a 2-year commitment. A lot of the students come in, start at the beginning of the year. It's sort of like a trilogy. So it's part 1, pathway of enlightenment, pathway of transformation, the pathway of knowledge. Then it goes on to the advanced teachings, which is the pathway of service. But, you know, the 2 years of transformation that goes on, that occurs through the pathway of mastery itself, is profound, just absolutely profound. So the pathway, well, here it goes, it's profound. It's an in-depth roadmap to support any soul from their first inkling to awaken all the way into knowing and living from their highest, most essential self. It offers nothing less than a radical shift of identity out of the fearful grip of the ego and into loving embrace of the awakened mind, Christ consciousness, which is the pathway of the heart. This, as I said to you guys, all through the 90s for me was all of the modalities. It was the sound baths. It was the, the shamanism, the beating of the drum. It was even back there, doing a bit of plant medicine, all of the healing modalities, all of the, the trance dancing, you name it. I was into it. I wanted it all. I wanted to be free. But the pathway, like literally, as I said, was the game changer. It's actually what truly allowed me to move into this place of what we could call enlightenment, which was finally lightening up from the narrative and being able to get a sense of freedom. Okay, so pillar two. Pillar two is meditation. So I offer the Inana System. Oh, so we'll go back to the Inana System. So what happened is in 2000 so I had this visitation from Jeshua in 1999. And then then I was introduced into the teachings of Christ consciousness in 2000. And then in 2004, so I did intense 4 years study and training in the pathway still, and continued on with that, with his guidance. And I went to Israel in 2004, and I was up on Mount Masada, and this is all in my first book. Oh no, it might be in the Inana System, in the book itself. And I was up at this Mount Masada, and I was looking out. There's more stories about what happened when Jeshua came to me in 1999. He took me out of my body, and I had this, this journey out into the subtle realms of consciousness with Jeshua. And then this time I actually felt, I had this experience where it felt like the whole earth, the whole desert, I was there, it was like as far as you can see this vast desert. And I just had this moment where I felt like this whole desert picked itself up and just poured itself into me. And I just stood there, shaking and crying, not knowing what the fuck was going on. Luckily I was with my mentor at the time, and he just stayed with me, and he just, put his hand on my back and just held me and just said, like, breathe and let this embody this. This is a transmission that's going on, and just rest and be gentle and just breathe and allow it to pour in, allow it to activate whatever the transmission is, and it's all cool. We're all here. Anyway, so I went through that, and then came home from Israel, and then I started probably about 6 weeks after that experience, I started having like incredible visions. I was like in lucid state. I get a lot of my teachings I have done directly with spirit in the state of lucid dreaming, which is directly being taught from the dimension of light. So I've been taught directly from masters and teachers, and been into the Akashic records and sat with Sai Baba, and just, have had these at the same time that I was processing through all these different states and stages through the 90s. I was also getting it clarified in the not just in the physical dimension, but also in the dimension of spirit. And so when I came back from Israel, then I was having this other experience where I was in the cosmos, and I was experiencing what is called cosmic consciousness. And back then there was no, there's quantum physics, understanding of quantum physics, and everything's, again, slathered everywhere today. You can read all about it. Social media's, cosmic consciousness everywhere. But I had this experience in 2004. Again, the internet really wasn't very, very big back then. big enough for me to have, you know, been able to connect up and do things online. But to have the experience of cosmic consciousness was like, again, another profound experience. I was in the cosmos. I was the universal intelligence. I could see the whole cosmos before me, and then I was shown how the whole cosmos was being created, and then my attention was turned to like look at who am I. I kind of had that who am I question, and like not what am I seeing, but who am I. And the minute I turned my attention to like who am I, then I just dissolved into the blackness, just into the void. There was not even a cosmos. There was nothing. So then I was in this experience of just being in this most incredible, like the peace that passeth, the peace that passes all understanding. It was like this time, this nothing, just blackness. And it was the most, and I remember having this memory of consciousness where I've gone, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is what I've been searching and seeking for down there on the planet. Like, you know, knowing that there was this field, this dimension between where I was and the place that the earth was. You know? And so I'm in this primordial being, just in this universal, eternal void. Now, when I had this experience, I was told you're, by this knowing, this voice, this knowing, and there was nothing there. So at this time, I'd been in states of consciousness where I've been talking to other beings, light beings, other masters, and it's not verbal conversations. It's just like telepathy, communication. But this time it was just, there was this, I was just this knowing, and the voice was just this echoing knowing. It's hard to explain. But anyway, it told me, whatever it was, that you got to come back and teach this. You got to help bring people here. And so that they too know this is the truest, this is the 0.0, this is the highest point of spiritual awakening and consciousness that we can do, the highest point. But there was nothing there. And I remember going like, how do you teach nothing? How do you even put the wordless into words? How do you go to teach nothing into something? And it was just like this communication with God or whatever it was like, you will know, we will send everything to you, and you will know what you've got to do. And anyway, so this occurred over 3 weeks. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 days for 3 weeks, over 3 weeks, I was in this field and waking up and having to start trying to integrate how to bring this into a way where I can share it and help people come into this point of primordial connection with the divine. And here it is. This is called the Inana System, a direct approach, evidence-based system. The reason it's evidence-based is because I also went and had an EEG done so that my brainwaves could be measured to state where my brainwaves were at while I was in this practice of the Inana System, and my brainwaves instantly went into gamma wave brains, brain waves, and the neurofeedback therapist was like, can you stay longer? Can I do research on this? Because she knew that if we were going to go into the practice any longer or deeper, that my brainwaves would have gone into the next stage of high vibrational frequency, which is this altered states, which is called epsilon brainwaves. So we stopped at gamma, got all the data, got all the research, put it in the book, just so that scientists can see it, which since the scientists have seen it, and hence why I got invited to go onto the forum with HeartMath, and also another forum with a whole big platform of artificial intelligence scientists and engineers and there's just little me, like little Aussie me, talking about these things that happen and being visited by Jeshua and all this sort of weird stuff, and they love it. They just love it, really embrace it. Anyway, so here we've got the Inana system. Now, the Inana system, Inana means I am, okay? The reason Inana means I am, this is sort of like, this is say, Inana is an idiom, which is a word that makes the first traditional words one. So it means Ena, E-N-A, E-N-A. Ena means in Aramaic, Ena in Aramaic, which is Jeshua's native language, means I, my higher self, my godly self, my primordial self, and I, my embodied self on this earth. I am I that is God in my higher self, and I that is God on this earth. So Ena means I am. I am. So the idiom, so if you put Ena, instead of me calling it the Ena system, then it was then also translated to the Inana system, which means I am presence, primordial meditation. Okay, so I have this for you as well, and again, I have amazing students on board having profound experiences with the Inana system. So pillar 2 is meditation. So we've got pillar 1 is wisdom, is the wisdom teachings. Pillar 2 is meditation. So the Inana system, I am primordial meditation, is a direct and simple path to full conscious awakening, and it's derived from the point of absolute love consciousness, absolute, purest absolute being. It connects us to the field of the pure infinite source of primordial being. The Inana system is an inner journey of blissful unfolding that gently unravels the nervous system, guides us on the pathway of surrender, transcends the illusion, descends deep into the ocean of internal silence, and rebirths us into the heart of divine ecstasy. So isn't that just yum? Just that itself? Wouldn't you want? Doesn't everyone want that? You just read it and you want it. So the pathway of surrender that transcends the illusion, descends deep into the consciousness of eternal silence, ocean of eternal silence, and then rebirths us into the heart of divine ecstasy. Just so sweet. So the Inana system is grounded in the manifesting healing power and phenomenon of the principles of I, awareness, M, presence of the divine. And it determines a life of love, freedom, and joy. So that's the Inana system. It works on the physical level, first and foremost. It's founded on the Transcendental meditation system, 5 levels, 4 postures in each level. So level 1 clarifies the relationship of the individual human existence and its establishment in the ongoing practice of harmlessness and compassion. It's the physical aspect of the self as soul consciousness, as it awakens as the expression of love and compassion for itself and humanity. Part 2 of level 1 is, so that's part 1. Part 2 is the cosmic consciousness. So then we get to go into this, the cosmic consciousness, as I spoke of earlier, which is the cosmic aspect of the self as soul consciousness. and as it awakens as the universal intelligence and the creative force of grandeur and magnificence. So level 2 begins to awaken the higher function of one's cosmic consciousness. Level 1 is the physical. Level 2 is the cosmic. Begins to awaken the higher function of one's cosmic consciousness, which surrounds and permeates the entire universe. It is also a powerful tool for the development of the highest degree of human enlightenment and unity consciousness. Level 4 is the pure infinite source of self, now as soul consciousness, physical consciousness, cosmic consciousness, soul consciousness, as a radiant divine bliss, the ground of being, the highest source of pure eternal emptiness and isness. Level 3 stabilizes direct communion with divinity. They are the applications for complete mastery and enlightenment. Level 4 and 5, as we move beyond into the unified field of the fifth dimension, which is no one, nothing, no time, nowhere, where we become one with the creative principle, again, as I shared earlier. The Inana system postures, words, and feelings and meanings are simply pointers that direct the attention to the heart of the divine and in time dissolve back into the infinite source of no thing, the ground of being, which results in the freedom from human suffering. So again, the Pathways meditation, the goal is freedom from human suffering. So this is the neurofeedback analysis that I spoke of earlier. So through the EEG neurofeedback analysis, the Inana system activated ongoing theta, alpha, and gamma wave bands equivalent to or greater than that similar of monitored advanced long-term Buddhist meditators, Zen meditation, Transcendental meditation, Siddhi meditation, TM, mindfulness meditation, Yoga Nidra, and Sahaja Yoga. So any of the meditations that have been measured and researched in the past, this actually equals to the depth of those. So in one single practice of the Inana system, all states of higher consciousness are reached. Therefore, it is unquestionable and outstanding unquestionably an outstanding evolutionary practice for conscious awakening of the modern world. That comes from the neurofeedback therapists. So on this link, you have the information about the Inana system. I do have the Inana system. I have a retreat coming up in October, but it's booked out. Sorry, guys. Yet, we'll tell you while we're here that in the new year, we are opening a retreat centre at Cooranbong, New South Wales, at Lake Macquarie, and between Newcastle and Central Coast, and it is called the Inana Retreat Centre. So the Inana Retreat, and it will be founded in all of these things that I'm sharing with you on this masterclass. You will be able to join in and either attend the Pathway of Mastery online or in person. You will be able to attend the Inana system itself. You'll be able to come to retreats and immerse yourself deeply into the Inana system teachings. There will also be gatherings for advanced students of the Inana system, where we will be joining together for silent gatherings, where we will be deliberately using that energy in that field of consciousness to move beyond even ourselves, and to actually extend and expand this light and healing for all of humanity. Opening in the new year. So contact us if you'd like to get onto any of those programs. So Pillar 3 is self-inquiry and love's breath. Again, imperative. An imperative part of spiritual awakening is that you've got to start removing and healing your shit, your trauma. So radical forgiveness and love's breath and soul mentoring is about how you explore and heal your own psyche, your soul blockages and trauma with the help of a mentor, at this stage myself, who can support you on your journey through transcendental soul-centered psychotherapy and breathwork. This is not the cathartic breathwork. This is very yin, very gentle, very powerful, and super powerful. All we need to do is to make the unconscious conscious. Find where these hidden blockages are, where there is the shadow parts of ourselves. See that parts of ourselves that are unconscious, that can't be seen, shining the light on them, making them conscious, and then that actually is how we start transforming and healing. This is beyond, this is a lot more deeper than any body work that I still teach with Reiki. This is doing a much more deeper way of spiritual awakening. So radical self-inquiry is a powerful process of introspection and exploration that goes beyond surface level questioning. It involves diving deep into your inner landscape to uncover hidden truths, patterns, and beliefs. And here's what it entails. First, it entails deep reflection. So instead of skimming the surface, it's really easy to skim the surface because the ego just wants to tell a story and blame or avoid and get away or push away. Instead of skimming the surface, radical self-inquiry encourages you to explore the depths of your thoughts, your emotions, and your experiences. It's like shining a spotlight in the corners of your psyche. It challenges assumptions. You question your assumptions that you've held over years, your conditioning that you've been, and the patterns and the belief systems that you've been running on. These might be about yourself or others or the world. By examining these assumptions, you gain clarity and can choose whether to keep them or discard them. Authentic exploration. Radical self-inquiry invites authenticity. You're not afraid to confront uncomfortable truths or face aspects of yourself that you have avoided. It's a courageous journey inward. It does indeed take courage. Systematic awareness. It's not just about why you feel a certain way. It's about understanding the larger systems at play. How do societal norms, family dynamics, and cultural influence shape your beliefs? It's non-judgmental curiosity, and approach yourself with curiosity and not with judgment. To ask questions without preconceived notions, and to be open to surprises and revelations. Then it's an integration. Radical self-inquiry isn't about dissecting yourself. It's about integrating all aspects of your being. It's the alchemical process of turning self-awareness into wisdom. Systematic awareness. Oh, I think I just said that. It is. So our edge usually occurs in situations where we feel uncomfortable. An edge can often be found whenever we find ourselves struggling with a feeling, ruminating about a problem, strongly defending against or rejecting feedback or criticism, or quickly agreeing with feedback or criticism from others. We can often feel it in our body, tightness in our chest, rapid breathing, butterflies in our stomach, clenching our fists, numbness, or desires to walk away. Ooh, that last paragraph there, I'm sure every one of us has felt, because I have, hence why I'm here. Okay, so then there's soul-centered psychology. So soul-centered psychology and therapy is not about fixing something that is broken, but rather about attending to the rich language of the soul as it manifests in every day. We honor the human experience in all its entirety and complexity. Love's breath. So love's breath is a part of the third pillar. Love's breath is a fundamental practice of the pathway of mastery also, that is integrated with radical inquiry to bring about profound and rapid transformation. This practice retains the body to breathe more freely, allowing its natural energy streams to become unblocked and integrated. Love's breath offers a pathway to growth, freedom, awakening, illumination, creativity, and most importantly, to the peace that passes all understanding. It is a powerful tool that can help you connect with your inner self and experience a deeper sense of peace and well-being. Self-inquiry, transpersonal therapy, and trauma recovery. Life is full of losses and it is filled with beauty. When you are battered, sometimes it feels hard to carry on. An existential crisis is the moment at which an individual questions the very foundations of their life, whether this life has any meaning, purpose, or value. As the armor around our hearts begin to fall off due to painful events, some people begin their journey of awareness. This is one of life's greatest beauties, despite the pain. To those who awaken their souls and hearts, you are a true spiritual warrior. Gabor Mate says that trauma is not what happened to you, but it's what happens inside of you as a result of what happened to you. That's why self-inquiry is extremely important. Trauma is healed by making sense of the experience, making sense of the senseless. So it's not what's happened to you; it's happening. This is why all of the pathway is about going, as I said, going inward. It's all the heart work because it's happening within you. Pillar 4, community. Join a community of fellow seekers who resonate with your values, visions, and expressing your devotion by engaging in retreats and workshops, singing, art, dancing, and other forms of music, such as kirtan, chant, sound circles, and sacred sounds. One of the greatest things we do have with anyone who's done the pathway of mastery or the Inana system or any other thing or Reiki, whatever it's like, it's the friendships. The friendships, again, the friendships that are formed, the community is formed, the fun that we have is just unreal. So that is workshops, retreats. Here you see we have all of these things here that we will be also offering and more. They just keep on growing. All of these will be offered at the Inanna retreat. Meditation for beginners and advanced, wellness programs, radical and evolutionary awakening, enlightenment, the Inana system, presence workshops, weekends, silent weekends, sound healing, mental health support, men's and women's circles, men's circles, women's circles, men and women's circles, heart songs, kirtan, sound, soul readings, Shanti Christo activation circles, another profound. I actually probably don't have time to go into that here, but Shanti Christo is also another profound. This is actually the symbol. This is my logo. So sacred music and dance, trauma recovery, art, nature therapy, self-inquiry, Tibetan Usui Reiki, pathway of mastery, frequency transmissions, soul ascension, ceremonies, plant medicine, transpersonal psych, mindfulness, soul-centered counseling, Aramaic living practices, yoga, body percussion, you name it. We're throwing shamanism, you name it. It's going to be available for everybody. So community and events. Stay in touch with like-minded community who will inspire, uplift, elevate, and celebrate life with you. Pillar 5, holistic well-being. This is energy alignment, Reiki, yoga, self-care, and health. Again, these are all the parts of the integration, the integral parts of the 6 pillars of the whole of the awakening process. Again, as I said, these are very important. And last but not least, pillar 6 is living life from gratitude, joy, presence, legacy. Like taking what your pain has been, what you're suffering, like what I shared with you earlier. My legacy, like my legacy to the loss of my daughter, to Taylor, like I do this in her legacy in so much gratitude and joy and humility. It's like, this is the legacy that I have to offer to humanity, from my own pain and suffering to now that which is the most highly celebrated joy, and now service to others that are going through life and experiencing their own transformation and their own awakening or their own suffering. Is like together, it's about coming together. As you can see, this is a AI image of what the community looks like. Old, young, playing guitars, eating salad around the fire in the Aussie bushlands at Currumbong at the retreat centre. Drums, drum circles, you name it. So this is, as I said, the integral whole. Okay. Next, we have Sacred Heart meditation. This is just something I just wanted to offer you guys at the end. The Sacred Heart meditation is like one of the things that Jeshua offered to me when he came to see me, and it was like he just poured this light from his heart, and it just hit me like this wave, and it was like extending this light from the heart wherever. It's like he showed me like just be this, just extend this love, this light, this heart from your heart to whatever arises. There's a tree, I'm going to extend love and love that. There's someone at the supermarket, I'm just going to extend love and love that. Beaming love, beaming love, beaming love. So saying silently within to yourself, putting your hands on your heart, and you say, I love you. I have a thought, I love you. I have a feeling, I love you. There's reactions, I love you. There's pain, I love you. So this is just an ongoing prayer. I love you to any of your physical comfort. I love you to any of your subconscious cellular childhood memory. You know, this invitation is just really to start with bringing your hand to your heart and saying I love you to yourself, saying I love you to your soul, to that point of light, the soul, the divinity within you. And if you feel stupid saying I love you, then love that. I feel stupid saying I love you. I love the part of me that feels stupid. I love that. And if your mind says I can't love them, again, then love that. No, I don't love the next door neighbor. Okay, well, I'm going to bring love to the aspect of myself that cannot yet love the next door neighbor. Love the thought, I can't. Love whatever arises. And again, this is what he brought to me in 1999. Only love is real. Love what arises within you. Love what arises outside of you. Love what arises within your field of awareness. Love all the patterns until love is the only option. Love arises for everything to be seen. Everything is arising in your life to be loved. Love is the divinity acknowledging itself in all. Silence is a non-stop I love you. This is heaven. This is grace at the very core of your being. Love is the divinity acknowledging itself in all. Absolutely everything in the world of form, in this third dimensional reality, everything is made from light, that point of light. And when we follow and trace that point of light back, like we're following a sunbeam back to the source of the sun itself, everything, it doesn't matter what it is made of light, of particles of light. Particles, atoms, molecules, everything is light. Therefore, everything comes from this primordial state of the creative principle, God itself. Everything is God. So love is the divine acknowledging itself in everything. So that's another beautiful way of seeing everything. So as we get to the end of this, we come to that place where so many of my beautiful community and people, and this is how I ended up myself, was service to evolution. This is your mission. At the end of the day, your mission is service to evolution. Single-handed, by being the one bringing love to everything, to birth more love upon the earth, not less. This is no longer just a journey to the single self, but an ongoing journey for consciousness awakening as a collective whole for your community, your society, and global evolution. We become a part of the solution to ending separation and suffering rather than continuing to be the cause of the unconscious egoic separation and the suffering on our planet. An open heart enables us to stay connected to other people, deeply connected to ourselves, and it's our connection to reality, to humanity, and to life. Meditation, breath, self-inquiry, wisdom teachings, conscious community enables us to open our hearts and to connect to our true being as deeper attunement, receptivity, and sensitivity. This open heart is the source of radical empathy and the ability to deeply feel with others. So there's the awakening process. And so if I can bring myself back up here. I can see you all. So, okay. Who is ever still here? We have 13 participants. That's lovely. A lot of you I haven't seen yet. So hi. And yeah, is anyone got any questions about everything that I just gave a sharing on? So just unmute yourself and we'll see if we can, yeah. Gallery, let's put everyone up on the gallery. Hi, okay, let's go. Any questions? Okay, Lenny,
can you see us there, Robin?
I can see you. I can hear you.
But
You got a question? Have you got a question?
Sorry, I can see you, but I can't see myself. That's all.
Oh, that's all right. I can see you.
That last part. Mike? That last part really got me.
Oh, good. Yeah, the heart, loving yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful, Lenny.
I got to that stage where I sort of healed most of myself, but back in August something happened, and it was just like there was this other part that I hadn't negotiated or you know what I'm trying to say there. Yeah. And long story short was a friend of mine contacted me, or didn't contact me, but I saw a post on Facebook that somebody had taken themselves home. Yeah. And it was a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
And this particular friend, Leanne, she tried to get the person that did themselves away to reach out to me in the 18 months prior. And this particular person also reminded me of family connections, and you know, I'd been friends with Leanne for about 40 odd years, and just that person's suicide brought up a lot of things that I was going through at the same age as well. And yeah, it's been a hard few months.
Yeah, sure, Lenny. You know, I can understand. I've had, and I'm sure a lot of people have had those who have taken their own lives. And I too have as well. And it is still very, you know, it's our heart when that one that we love takes themselves out of the physical dimension. When our heart breaks, that we're no longer going to be able to see that one physically, what actually is really happening is as our heart breaks or opens up, they're actually like taking us into that dimension with them, into that, and that's why it can feel so overwhelming. So the best thing to do with that is to just continue to allow your heart to open up, and it's a little bit like they're inviting us to be in this place of freedom there where they're no longer suffering, and just continue to open that and put your hand on your heart, and it's okay to cry. And ultimately the other flip of this is that every soul has a contract, and I believe that from my own experience. As I said, like if Taylor didn't die, um, I wouldn't be doing this today, and I can see the perfection in how that has unfolded. And so it's not up for us to actually say what another being should or shouldn't be doing or can or can't be doing, because
Mm.
it's beyond our it's not personal. It is really about
No,
whatever their soul requires. Yeah.
and me being and me being the medium as well, I also picked up on how they passed and the
Yep.
things that were leading up to their passing and all that sort of thing. And
Yep.
being a medium and sitting at the breakfast table and seeing that post and nearly choking
Yep.
on your breakfast at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And being a medium, Lenny, also,
Mm.
just and I've seen you, well, I've been a big part of your mediumship, right?
Mm.
You also have to remember that um, opening up to your psychic abilities and to your mediumship skills doesn't mean that you actually have everything in place. Um,
No.
doing, being developed in the psychic development stage, or your healing stage, doesn't actually mean that, because I've seen this quite often, and I was confused. Why do mediums actually get angry with God, and why do mediums actually say, this person was taken too early, or this shouldn't have happened, and I'm thinking, what is it that the mediums aren't hearing? What is it that they're not actually knowing themselves at a
Mm.
deeper level? Because for me to be a medium or a psychic or working in any of those fields, no matter who passes, no matter who moves out of their bodies, personally in my life, or in the case of war, it's all for me one thing, because I understand the soul's journey, or the journey of the entire journey of the primordial experience itself. When you actually have an
Yeah.
understanding for the entire primordial experience of being, then there's no answers that you've still yet to uncover or to unlock. That's why the wisdom teachings are really important. Having a really grounded wisdom teaching that actually that your brainwaves can go to understand the primordial source of consciousness and the evolutionary existence itself. When you know all of that, there's nothing that happens to you that doesn't it doesn't, as I said, it doesn't mean to still say that you still won't cry, because you'll have love for that one. I could still look at
Mm.
something, and it'll remind me of someone that's died, and I'll go, oh, my heart, my feel. Well, all that is just love. That's just love rising, and the tears and the love is like, yeah, that's just love expressing itself. But there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Why did this happen? There's no doubt. Well, why didn't I answer the questions? Why didn't they call me? Well, what could I have
Mm.
done? I could have saved their life, but it wasn't up for you to save. It's not up for us to save
No.
everyone's life. It's up to the soul to have its contract. But
And
again, it was really
while
lovely,
we're
Lenny.
just yeah,
Lovely that you've
just
been able to share your heart. Thank you.
yeah, just while we're on the subject there, it's like when that spirit came to me, like on the morning that it happened, it's like she apologized to me straight away for underestimating the depth of my love.
Nice. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really beautiful. Yeah. Excellent. So that in
Mm.
itself, that's a beautiful message. Yeah. So
Yeah.
stay with that, saying I love you to your heart, same thing, just everyone stay with saying I love you. It's like I love you to your little self, your inner child as well. I love you. And he's saying,
Mm.
your heart is the altar, you know, it is your temple. So saying I
And I
love
don't know
you
if
to your heart.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed during your presentation there, I actually fell into meditation.
No, I didn't because I couldn't see anyone. But that's great. Very, very good. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's an invitation into the Christ field, and if everyone's in this field, then you know, beautiful stuff's going to happen. So that's a great testimony. Thanks, Lenny. It's lovely. Thank you for showing up and for being here. Does anyone else have any questions? Nope. Most of you all already know a lot of what I do and what we do and what we do together and share together. Alrighty.
There was just a few questions in the chat there that I have sort of answered, so you might want to just look at those.
Okay. Will we be recording? Yes. Thank you. Enjoyed the session. We'll follow. Oh, nice. Nice. Beautiful. Excellent. Okay. Alrighty. We'll leave it at that. And thanks everyone for showing up. And I do have a lot of people that are on the recording that I will be sending the recording out to. But in the meantime, lots of love, everyone, and I will see you all wherever I see you all soon. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Sally. Bye.
See.